I think that Jake Paul would completely embarrass and humiliate KSI and KO him within the first 2 rounds in a boxing ring if they ever do fight. I also believe that Jake Paul and this whole celebrity boxing era could end up engulfing and overshadowing the entire boxing scene, and we might even see the end of boxing by the end of this, because I'll tell you this, there's nothing competing with the numbers that these YouTubers bring in, because other than Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury trilogy and Deontay Wilder versus AJ and AJ versus Fury, there's nothing really in terms of numbers and money that can compete with these celebrities competing in boxing. So I thought I'd discuss all of those things in this video. Now, I know I'm also the MMA guru, and MMA fans are going to be like, why are you making so many videos about boxing? I feel like the future of boxing is a good discussion to have, and I'm going to mix in a prediction of Jake Paul versus KSI at the start of things as well. So stay tuned. I'm going to discuss all of them, starting with the fact that I believe Jake Paul is going to destroy KSI in a boxing match, because there's just night and day differences between the skill levels that they have, and I don't know why no one seems to understand this. I'm also going to discuss the future of Jake Paul and YouTube boxing, but still, I believe that Jake Paul would completely destroy KSI in a boxing ring, because upon watching both of their fights, I've not been watching boxing for too long, and I don't pay too much attention to boxing, but I've paid enough attention to realise when someone's got a bit of a natural gift at something compared to others. And as much as people don't like Jake Paul, he's got some hands. For a guy who has only been in the ring 3 times, pro or amateur, he's only fought in a ring with boxing gloves on, headgear or not, 3 times. He's waiting, he's coiling up, he's timing guys as they come in. That's something I can't quite ignore. And I also believe that Jake Paul would just obliterate KSI, because when I watch KSI fight, and even when I watch Logan Paul fight, it's very clear to me that the only reason KSI won those fights was because Logan Paul did not have the cardio. And if Jake Paul has the cardio that his brother does not, which his body would suggest, because Logan Paul is the fast twitch, muscled up brother, and it seems like Jake Paul was a little bit flabbier, but maybe got a bit more cardio to him. Different builds do different things, and Jake Paul also has the power advantage, it seems like, over Logan Paul, even though he's not the fast twitch muscle guy. I believe that Jake Paul would destroy KSI. I watch KSI's fights. He's not good at boxing, and I know there's a lot of KSI fans out there like, yeah, wait until he fights KSI though. I don't think you should be rooting for a KSI fight if you like his YouTube videos, because I think it's going to be really embarrassing for him. I think Jake Paul's going to completely obliterate him, in all honesty, really, really badly. And I also believe that Jake Paul's going to go on and maybe even take on Conor McGregor at some point. Now, I know some people are going to say that that's crazy. That you're telling me if he doesn't run through all of the list of people that he's been set to take on and he's called out, like Dylan Dennis, Ben Askren, especially Dylan Dennis, that McGregor wouldn't, if not a pro fight, that McGregor wouldn't accept an exhibition bout with Jake Paul if Jake Paul has like 20 million followers on Instagram at the time, pulling in millions of pay-per-views. Conor McGregor's a money man. And before anything else, Conor McGregor likes money. So if Jake Paul has an offer to him where here's 40 million, here's 30 million, we're going to sell 1.5 million pay-per-view buys, or even break the record of pay-per-view buys if Jake Paul keeps going and building this momentum, then there's no doubt in my mind that Conor McGregor is going to accept that fight, even if it is an exhibition. Jake Paul would obliterate KSI. He's pretty good at boxing. I actually believe that Jake Paul has done way more boxing than it seems. I think he probably did it as a kid, because his hands, even in the fight before, the fight he just had against Nate Robinson, I can't quite remember the guy's name, Gibb. I know his name though. I'm not acting like I'm big timing him and forgetting him because I don't know him. I know his name, but it's a weird name and it ends with Gibb. Anderson Gibb is the guy. Anison Gibb is the guy. He destroyed him. Completely obliterated him, and that's a guy who's been training for a fight in a boxing ring. Regardless if they're pro boxers or not, Jake Paul seems to be the best guy out of all of these celebrity boxing people, and it's actually the best performance I've seen in a celebrity boxing match. I know a lot of people just went out there and said, Nate Robinson is shorter than him. Well, you were all picking him beforehand. So I don't know how all of these people that were picking Nate Robinson beforehand for this reason, that reason, this reason, that reason. He's an athlete. He's an NBA player. He's a shorter guy, but he's got hops and he's got fast twitch muscle. And then all of a sudden he loses. And he's an NBA player. He's an athlete. He's a shorter guy and he's got all this fast twitch muscle. You know, like the same reasons you gave for predicting Nate Robinson are the same reasons that they gave for the reasons why he lost. So why predict him? I predicted Jake Paul to win this fight. I thought he was going to fade away hook Nate Robinson in the second round. I actually called it quite perfectly, I'll be honest with you guys. I also called, before these weird rules came out, that Tyson versus Roy Jones was going to be a robbery draw. I also got the entire UFC card that weekend almost completely wrong. I think I went 3-7 on predictions, but for some reason these boxing fights, I can predict them to a T, but still, I believe that Jake Paul would destroy KSI. I don't think KSI has any business being in there because there's a few reasons. Jake Paul has the momentum right now in this situation, okay? He's a younger guy. I don't even know if he's a younger guy, I'll be honest with you guys, but he's newer, he's fresher, he's training more often, he's got more fight camps, he's got more fights under his belt as well, even though KSI has, I think he's 1-1 right now, one fight with Logan Paul, the other fight with Logan Paul, one was amateur, one was pro. Jake Paul's got an extra fight as a pro, that's really good experience, and also has got experience. If this fight does happen without a crowd, Jake Paul has experience in that environment with a completely silent arena to box with KSI, and KSI has never been in that situation before. So Jake Paul has the momentum, he's fought more guys, he's only going to have fought more guys by the time they fight, and I genuinely believe if Jake Paul plans out his career correctly, he can actually become a real big star in boxing, and I could see this completely overshadowing boxing as a sport in general. And as an MMA fan that has been disgraced by boxers and boxing fans for a while, I haven't personally been disgraced, but there is a real animosity from boxing fans towards MMA fans. As an MMA fan, there is nothing I would love to see more than Jake Paul headline a Canelo card. That would just be the ultimate embarrassment and degrading of the boxing scene, and it would be hilarious to me because it would just show that we've won. We've already won. The MMA fans have already won this situation, okay? But still, KSI is not very good. Jake Paul's pretty good with the hands. Jake Paul would completely destroy him. I watch KSI's fights. He swings like a retard. He swings like a retard. I'm just going to say the word. He does. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, are you getting there? I reckon I could probably beat KSI, in all honesty. I've done a bit of training. I think I could beat KSI pretty easily. He runs around like a retard with his chin straight forward. He's going to get smacked up by Jake Paul. Jake Paul's good now. Imagine an extra 25% training camp on top of whatever Jake Paul is now against KSI. KSI has been out of the game. He's not training for a boxing match. Jake Paul has kept the momentum rolling. He's kept the snowball moving, and he's building up a whole bunch of momentum right now, and I really do think he'd hurt KSI. But KSI in his fights with Logan Paul, like the first fight was a robbery. I thought KSI won that fight 4-2. They made it a draw because boxing draws mean rematches. Roy Jones Jr., Mike Tyson, perfect example. Let's just make everything a draw because boxing's retarded. Even the MMA judges are bad, but at least they give it to someone. Like, they don't just come up with some, draw. Oh yeah, we'll just go with a draw. Yeah, cool. Let's just forget what we watched and just make it a draw so we can do a rematch. Like, at least the MMA judges are just stupid as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, that's an intelligence issue. The boxing judges are intelligent. They just choose not to give the right result. Like, out of spite sometimes it feels like. But Jake Paul, I definitely feel like would beat KSI. And I'll tell you this, in Jake Paul's future, he could genuinely get to a McGregor fight. And if I was Jake Paul's manager right now, and I wanted him to become the next Floyd Mayweather of boxing and be the big money fight man, I would maybe plan out his career like this. There's some random guy that I've never heard of, actually. Austin McBroom. Fight that, I don't even know, but that chin. He's got a chin. Yeah, Jake Paul's got some natural attributes. He's got the hands. He's got the chin. Like, as much as people hate on Jake Paul, I want to mention this as well. Jake Paul he's done a lot of cunty shit, and I know about all of this because I'm only 22. Like, I know about Jake Paul, I know about Logan Paul, I know about KSI. I used to watch KSI growing up every single fucking day. As soon as I got home from school, KSI plays horror game this, slavery FIFA, all that kind of stuff back in the day. FIFA, Ultimate Team, all that kind of shit. I'm a big fan of KSI, and I know about Jake Paul's history. He's a cunt. But he's got a good chin, it seems like. And even just looking at his jaw and his neck and his chin and the way he's built, he's kind of built for this kind of sport, you know? Like, just with the natural attributes. That guy, Austin McBroom, that chin ain't built for nothing, man. That chin ain't built for taking no shots. That's going to get indented real quick by Jake Paul. So if I was Jake Paul, I don't know how much boxing experience Austin McBroom has, but if I'm Jake Paul, I'm saying, you know what? KSI in July, I'm Jake Paul's manager here. And I'm just going to be a genius about this because I know that his manager probably won't make this move. But this is why I'm the genius and I should probably be Jake Paul's manager. Just saying. Jake Paul, if you're looking for someone, I'm expensive. I'll just be honest with you. But, you know, I can give you my services here. And actually, I'm not even expensive because I'm going to give you my services for free. So just watch this video, Jake Paul, and fire your manager and save yourself some money. But still, fight Austin McBroom in 3 months. Get KSI to agree to a fight in July. Before you fight Austin McBroom, get KSI to preemptively agree to a fight in July, International Fight Week for boxing. Get him to agree to it. KSI would like that. I'm sure he would want a lot more time than just a couple of months to get back in there. Have him fight Austin McBroom, destroy him in about 3 months' time, then turn around and fight KSI. Once you've beat KSI, now you're looking at Dylan Dennis, Ben Askren. I would go for Ben Askren first. Beat Ben Askren if he does. I'm not saying he would because Ben Askren's been training his hands for a very long time. But if he does beat him, and then he beats Dennis, McGregor's training partner, and then he gets on that microphone and calls out McGregor, there's going to be a real big problem because McGregor will accept that fight. If he's just KO'd Dennis and he's fresh off a KO with Dennis, I'm not just thinking about Jake Paul's name now. I'm thinking about his name once he's beat KSI. Once he's beat his next fight, Austin McBroom. Who knows how he beats them? Does he get more highlight reel KOs? He could genuinely become boxing's big star if he plays his career correctly. And if he beats KSI, he's going to get more followers. And more people are going to be on his team. And if he beats McBroom, I can't remember his first name, Austin McBroom, he'll have more. If he beats Askren, he'll have more. Everyone knows who Askren is in the combat sports community. He got flying kneed by Masvidal. It's a shame that that's all he's known for. But that's all he's known for. Okay? If he beats Dennis, he's going to have more followers. Then if he calls out McGregor and says, me versus you, will sell about 2 million pay-per-view buys. More than the Floyd one, maybe. Who knows? Because Jake Paul can talk a bit of shit. He's a young guy. He's hip with the kids. You know what I mean? So he could generate some back and forth with McGregor. Bring the shit talking out of him a bit more. I reckon they could break pay-per-view numbers in boxing if they do it. It might even be a pro fight. I think McGregor would completely embarrass him. That needs to be mentioned. McGregor would completely embarrass. And any boxer, any pro boxer would embarrass Jake Paul. But that's not the point here. That's not the point. He's not fighting pro boxers. So I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, you know, Jake Paul will never beat these guys. Boxers would beat him. Well, these guys aren't boxers. So Jake Paul would beat them. Because out of the people that aren't really boxers, Jake Paul's the best one, in my opinion. Got hands, got power, got calmness in there as well. Like, there's a jittery nerves to the rest of these guys that I've seen that have done these celebrity boxing matches. And Jake Paul, even in his Deji fight, like, seemed calm, through good combinations. He's definitely done boxing before, and he's going to finesse the entire thing. I reckon he could overtake boxing, and boxing might be dead after this. And I'm loving it. I'd love it if Jake Paul, out of all the fucking people on this world, was the guy to put the nails in the coffin of boxing for good. Because listen, as much as I would love to see Fury versus AJ, it don't sell the pay-per-views that Jake Paul versus KSI does whatsoever. It probably doesn't even beat the Roy Jones Jr. versus Mike Tyson pay-per-view buys. Like, as much as it seemed cringy and Snoop Dogg singing and they're doing like this theatrical performance between every single fight and it was just a weird situation, I could see how that would bring more rise to the boxing scene than any Canelo. Who's Canelo fighting next? Does anyone give a fuck? Is everyone just going to find out the day afterwards what happened in the Canelo fight, that he got gifted a win in because he's the big man, he's the big money man, so they're obviously going to give him the win? Does anyone really care? You know what I mean? I care, obviously, about Canelo's next fight, and I'm sure boxing fans care as well. But I feel like Jake Paul could take over this whole shit. I just thought I'd mention that. I know I'm the MMA guru. MMA fans, I'm sorry about this video, but I felt like I needed to mention it just because it was about the future of boxing as well. If it was just a Jake Paul versus KSI prediction video, I probably wouldn't put it out. But I feel like it's about the future of boxing, so I will mention it because MMA is better than boxing by far. And I'm probably going to make it at the end of this year top 5 reasons why MMA is better than boxing. So that's just to piss off all the boxing fans out there. A couple more dislikes, I'll take it. Good shit. Moving on. I've got nothing to move on to. Oh, like and that's what I've got to move on to. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. And goodbye. And MMA fans, full card predictions for UFC Vegas 16 come out later today. So stay tuned. Hermansson versus Vettori. It's going to be a good one. Goodbye.